Alright, hello YouTube, welcome back to the Grease Comedy YouTube channel. Today's video will be continuing 25 Days of Winds of Winter. And in today's video, we're going to be doing House Bolton. And what is their fate in Winds of Winter, or even A Dream of Spring, if they make it that far. And I'm going to be honest, this is going to be probably a very short video, because I think there's only one way that this house is headed. But before we get further into the video, if you guys like to like, subscribe, and comment, please do. It helps the channel grow to people that might like this content as well. And let's get into it. So let's take a look at the state of the Boltons. Right now, they are at Winterfell, and they're more or less being quote-unquote sieged by Stannis. Not really. It's more like there's an army that is adjacent to Winterfell that is posing a threat. But there is a snowstorm that has kind of left Stannis' camp in a pretty not great state. And there's been a lot of infighting that's been going on within Winterfell itself between the Manderleys, the Freys. There's been people that have just been dying that we don't know who the real culprit is. We have Theon escaping Winterfell with Jane Poole. We have a lot of things going on in Winterfell at the moment. And it's not going well, it would appear. Things are being set up to, in my opinion, not go well for the Boltons, even if they beat Stannis, which, as of right now, I think it's probably 80-20 that Stannis is going to win. But even in a scenario where, let's say, the Boltons beat Stannis, maybe the Freys actually do, the Frey and Manderley forces kill Stannis, which just seems very unlikely. Maybe it plays out like the show, where Ramsay and Roose win. Regardless, I think in this situation, I think Ramsay and Roose are going to die. Whether that's because Stannis kills them, whether that's because Jon leads an army, or Rickon is the figurehead of a northern army like conspiracy, the Boltons are going to come down. It's just natural. It has to happen. We've talked about how our forces need to be somewhat united at least, and the North is the most pivotal to that plot. If the Boltons are still in power by the time the others make it through the wall, then at that point, George is writing a story where the others win. Because there's just no way. The North has to be somewhat rallied behind someone. There's too much infighting going on right now. Stannis, I think, is set up in a position, if you guys wanted to watch my Stannis video, I talked about where I think he's going to go. But more or less, what I think is going to happen here is that the Manderleys are going to betray the Freys. And then you're going to see some trickery happen to where Stannis is able to defeat the Boltons. I think that could happen with the Manderley forces going back with Stannis' sword and proof that Stannis is dead, along with some of the Baratheon forces that are just put into, like, Frey clothing to make it look like they're Freys. And then when they open the gates, basically you could see a Trojan horse thing with Troy happening, where they just take the castle from the inside, more or less. But that, to me, could be a really big possibility. And if that happens, the Boltons are pretty much screwed. I think they're going to be probably beheaded, both Ramsay and Roose. Now, people have suggested maybe they make it back to the Dreadfort. And my counter to that would be, what is the point of that? Unless George is building to where there's going to be a conflict in the North where our main... So, like, in the show, for instance, the show did the main other conflict in the North at Winterfell. I am someone that does not believe that's going to happen. I believe Winterfell is actually going to get taken by the others. It's more or less going to get just plowed through. Just looking at the state of the story right now, we don't have any of our characters together, that I think the others will probably win that battle. So I think, what is the point of having the Boltons live and make it to the Dreadfort? Yes, they pose maybe as a villain after the war, but you have to think, the others are going to take over the Dread. They're going to roll through all of the North before they get to the Neck, is how I pose the situation. So do we pose that maybe they come up with some resistance as our forces are retreating south? Doesn't really seem like a plot that makes any sense to me. So I think for me, I personally think if we are going to see some sort of idea where the Boltons pull back to the Dreadfort, it would have to be relatively soon, you would have to think. But my other problem with that is I think Roose, if Roose is alive in this scenario, I think he realizes if he pulls back to the Dreadfort, he loses the North. Because basically he says, I can't hold the North from Winterfell. It makes you lose strength for more. It makes people's perceived strength of you much less than it actually is, right? And we see this as a common theme. Being able to make your opponents think that you are stronger than maybe you are goes a long way. Think about Littlefinger, right? Tyrion notes in A Clash of Kings that he could have Littlefinger arrested, but how would that go? Who does Littlefinger have under his thumb? Could he even make that happen? Would Tyrion be the one end up getting killed? There's a lot of things that we know about perceived power. And Roose, I think, understands that if he retreats from Winterfell, he's basically condemning himself to death, more or less. Now, the way I would see this happening, if it's not Roose, or if the Boltons do live on, it would be through Ramsay. Because Ramsay is not, I think, as smart as Roose when it comes to political maneuvering and things like that. That I could see Ramsay in a scenario where he feels like they're going to lose, retreats to the Dreadfort. But even then, would his pride allow him to do that? I just don't see it. I think the Boltons probably lose at Winterfell to either Stannis or some other force from the north. I think it will be Stannis, but it could also be the people rallying behind Rickon or Jon or both. That's also very possible as well. But that is how I think Ramsay and Roose are going to go. I think both of them are destined to die. They're very similar to a character like Littlefinger, where I think he has to be kind of out of the picture, just narratively. It makes sense. It's kind of one of the issues you look at the show and how they knew they had to get rid of characters, but they didn't know how to get there. Very much amplified in the way Littlefinger goes out. I think George will just do those things much better. He'll wrap up characters way better than the show did. And I think that will be even more so for characters like Roose and Ramsay. Whereas Roose in the books he's much more of a cunning, like major villain, but he's like an underrated major villain, right? Where you have like all these other characters that are in the spotlight of major villains like Walder Frey, Joffrey, even Tywin to a degree, and a lot of the other characters like that, where Roose Bolton can kind of go under the rug at times, even though he is a major antagonist to the Starks and the story as a whole. But let me know what you guys think about House of Bolton. Do you think they maybe could live into A Dream of Spring? I personally don't think so. But let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. We're going to be doing House Frey. I thought I would do kind of the villainous-y houses here towards the end. But we're getting close to the end. I hope you guys have enjoyed the event. I personally loved recording them. It's been a little stressful editing them all and then thumbing it. But, yeah. Also, at the end of this video, for people that have... We'll give you a little taste, a little sneak peek of things, or not even a sneak peek, but a little taste of what's going on. I'll show you guys what my Christmas sweater is going to be this year. So I hope you guys like it, but I got it overseas, and it is a Targaryen sweater. It's got the fire and blood on it, and it's got, you know, the Targaryen colors, and it's got the sigil. I really like it, but I wanted to just kind of give you guys a cool little thing that I'm doing for this Christmas, and I hope you guys have a great Christmas with your guys' families. See you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys.